Hi, I'm looking for Malcolm.
Yes, he's just inside the Gamble Library.
Goodness, this is amazing. Your skill in tracking me down to faraway places. Come away in. Now, you're in an amazing space here. This is the Gamble Library at Union Theological College in Belfast. It's got the most amazing, come in. It's got the most amazing collection, and they've let me have a look at various bits of it. So come along here, there's some great things to show you. There's an exhibition on at the moment about Christian poetry, which obviously sort of suits me down to the ground. So let me just show you some of the things they've got here. Absolutely wonderful. Look, here's William Cooper, who wrote the God moves in a mysterious way, his wonders to perform. He plants his footsteps on the sea and rides upon the storm. The verse of this I think is really fine is, ye fearful saints, fresh courage take. The clouds ye so much dread are big with mercy and will break in blessings on your head. That's fantastic. We can go a bit further back in time from Cooper, who's an 18th century poet. Let's go right back. I'm thrilled to see this. This is the 70 Sermons of John Donne. Now, I actually did my doctoral thesis partly on these sermons in this volume, but I was using modern editions, of course, not this lovely one. So they've got Donne here as a Christian poet, and they've put in here the great sonnet, which I was actually writing about just recently. This wonderful sonnet, confidently mocking death. Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, thou art not so. For those whom thou think'st thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. And then he goes on at the end of this to wonderfully to say, why swell'st thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. That's a wonderful rebuke back to death. And then they've got Donne's younger friend, and in some senses protege, I think, George Herbert. And they've got his great poem, The Agony, again, which I've written about. Philosophers have measured mountains, fathomed depths of seas, of states and kings, walked with a staff to heaven, traced fountains, but there are two vast, spacious things, the which to measure it doth more behove. Yet few there are that sound them, sin and love. Amazing. They've got Milton, of course, and they've got some of Milton's controversial pamphlets with his titles, these incredible 17th century titles, animadversions upon remonstrance, defense against smectimus. Not exactly inviting you to read it, but this is what I really want you to see. You've come on the right. So Isaac Watts, not simply a great hymnodist, but actually arguably the father of English hymnody. This lyric poem, Sacred to Devotion, is, arguably the most influential hymn book ever written. So Watts was born in 1674. So this is the 350th anniversary of his birth. Now, come over here, because they've allowed me, libraries are very kind to me, I won't know why, but this is a fairly unusual chair to sit on. This is, I feel I feel slightly, not impious, if not blasphemous, sitting on this chair. This is the chair of the moderators of the Presbyterian Church of Ireland, which they keep here, this being a Presbyterian college. I've just on this trip to Belfast met some of the former moderators. Anyway, come close and look at this. Now, I actually have at home some volumes in this series called Bell's Poets, which is a late 18th century series. But I don't have the Isaac Watts ones, which these are. So the series, it says, Wells Poets of Great Britain, complete from Chaucer to Churchill. Yeah, not of course the Churchill that we know of the war, because these are made in the 1780s. But here's the reason for getting this one out. This is the third volume in the 3 volumes on Watts as an English poet. And towards the end, they have his hymns. And then they have this. Well, in my view, perhaps the finest hymn ever written. I mean, a hymn which is so memorable, the tune fits it so perfectly, and it just goes, it really does plumb the heights and depths. So you know this, I'm sure. And you can, if you take a little closer look at this, you can see the old typeface, you know, where the S's that look like F's and so on. So, when I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss, and pour contempt on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, save in the death of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to his blood. And then I think, you know, the best verse. See from his head, his hands, his feet, sorrow and love flow mingled down. Did e'er such love and sorrow meet, or thorns compose so rich a crown? Just every measure, every beat, every word perfectly fitting what he wants to say. Now, here's the thing. I'm friends with one of the, I think, the great hymn writers of our time, who is also, interestingly, from Northern Ireland. A couple, they're both great hymn writers, Keith and Christian Getty. So I was going to go to indeed I went to a conference he has in Nashville, celebrating church music and exploring its variety, but remembering its history too. And he called me up about 2 days before we were all due to go on stage in this massive Nashville center. Said, oh, it's the 350th anniversary of Isaac Watts. Do you think you could rustle up a sonnet for us, you know, for the first opening? Oh, yeah, all right, Keith, you know, it's fine. I'm glad to be asked. I like an external prompt. Anyway, so I did. And I was kind of obviously thinking, and he said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a bit about we're going to have your poem, and your poem is going to lead into When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, with like 8,000 people singing it, which is an extraordinary experience. But I thought, we had no pressure then. And I was sort of half joking with him, and I said, so you want me to write a poem in praise of Isaac Watts? And he said, yeah. So I said half jokingly, When I Survey the Wondrous Watts. And then I immediately thought, that hymn is a man who says, I pour contempt on all my pride. How can you possibly praise a man who wants to give everything to Christ and set aside, you know, the whole realm of nature, all wealth and fame, and there's nothing. So I think that suddenly realized that was actually the way into the poem. That is the poem. The poem is the problem of how to. So anyway, I have it here. So this is just called For Isaac Watts, and it's addressed to Watts himself. But what happens in the poem is that Watts interrupts me and speaks back. So it goes like this. How can I praise you, Isaac, for this gift, whereby you voice the height and depth of grace? I sing your words and feel my spirit lift into a realm of utter thankfulness. How can I praise a man who shuns all praise and pours contempt on any fame and pride? Don't praise or even notice me, he says, but turn your eyes unto the one who died. Lose all your life in Christ and he will save. Prostrate yourself and he will lift you up. His love will raise you even from the grave. Sorrow and love are mingled in the cup Christ drains for you. Sorrow and love combine as he gives all he is in bread and wine. And I suppose that's the paradox. You try and praise Christian poets and they turn all the praise back to Christ, who is both the inspiration and the subject of their writing. Anyway, well done for tracking me down in this amazing and beautiful space. I must say, I think these high ceilings are fantastic in libraries. I think they give you literal headspaces, as though your thoughts can rise with the space in which you're studying. Anyway, many thanks, and thanks for coming round.